Welcome back. All right, news of the day video for all you fine people on the internet for your February the 15th. It is, of course, a Wednesday as well. We're going to start things off talking about the Canucks and Thatcher Demko. So I have watched 53 leave the team. I really didn't want to watch 35 leave the team because I may be wearing a Demko jersey right now. And Demko is saying that he's seen the rumors that he wants out of Vancouver and he denied it. He said he's never even said a word to his wife about wanting out of Vancouver. And that'll be good news for Vancouver. Now, Demko has not had a great season. We know this. He had lousy numbers, he gets hurt. He should be back relatively soon, although apparently not tonight. Apparently there's and Taka wouldn't reveal which goaltender they're going to call up from Abbotsford, but it'd have to be Silovs, wouldn't it? Kind of have to be the backup for tonight. But Demko is an important part of this team. If they're really going to try to do a retool rather than the full-on rebuild, and I know the full-on rebuild people are out there, but if they do a retool, you need to have a goaltender through that, and Demko can be that goaltender. He's had a really bad season, but he's in his mid-20s, and it happens, and you move on from it. So for Demko, having him in the net is really important to Vancouver, I think, going forward. The rest of the season's kind of a washout. The other thing is, I did see a comment yesterday about, why do people speculate on who wants to be in Vancouver and not, and why don't people speculate on it with other teams? And the reality is people do. We have seen for years with Columbus, one of the first questions about any Columbus Blue Jacket is, yeah, but does he want to stay there long term? We've seen that with the Coyotes. We've seen that with the Sabres. I think we're starting to see that on some level, kind of sort of with the Ducks, just because they're going through a long-term rebuild. We've seen that with the Senators as well. Players want to win. They want a chance to win. They want a chance to be successful. And when a team is kind of mired in what the Canucks are mired in right now, I totally understand why a player in their prime would say, I would like to do this somewhere else. I don't take that personal. There are cases where I've been really angry about a player asking for a trade, but in the current environment in Vancouver, I really wouldn't blame anybody for saying, I think I want to go to play somewhere else. That being said, for the players to stick around, greatly appreciated. And if Demko wants to stick around, great, perfect. Mikey Anderson, I really like the defenseman a lot. The offensive side isn't really much to talk about, but Mikey Anderson is a 23-year-old defenseman who is now staying in LA for a long time. He is signed through 2031. He signs an 8-year extension with the LA Kings worth $4.1 million per season. It's a contract that is going to end up being a bargain 2-3 years down the road. And what it does is it buys them 5 years of unrestricted free agency. He was 3 years away from it, so now they don't have to worry about that. And for the LA Kings, honestly, Mikey Anderson's been a really solid defensive defenseman, and he's one of those guys that the more you watch him play, the more impressed you are with him. In that there are some issues with LA's defense at times, but I can't remember Anderson being out of position and saying, where's he going, what's he doing, where was he throwing that puck, that kind of thing. Anderson's a smart defender, so kind of nice to see. We'll see how things go for him in LA, of course, the rest of the way, but he's sticking around in LA for a long time to come. Calen Addison, who has been in the doghouse for the Minnesota Wild previously this season. He apparently is there again as a healthy scratch. Dean Evason not mincing his words, and I like Evason as a coach for this too. And basically saying he needs to work on the defensive side of things. He needs to work on certain parts of his game. This is an ongoing issue between Addison and the coaching staff, clearly, where they wanted to work on this. And it sometimes gets overblown with young defensemen, I think, because it does take a while to fit into that defensive scheme that a coach like Evason would be looking for. There are some defensemen that could just come in and it's seamless and it's great, but not every defenseman is like an Owen Power or Jake Sanderson. And even in Power and Sanderson's cases, they've had their growing pains along the way as well. So with Addison out of the lineup, we'll see how things go for Minnesota tonight. As they have that key game against Colorado Avalanche, they really need to win that game. Alex Ovechkin posting on social media this morning, I believe he posted this on Instagram, that his father has passed. So when a player steps away from a team for family reasons and there's no warning, it's something bad. So for Ovechkin, the loss of his father, he's very, very close to his father. And so, my thoughts go out to him in this time. And, he's going to have to take his time in coming back. This is something that it's not like he's going to be back in the NHL 3-4 days from now and everything will be fine. This could take a while. this could take a bit, and he has to take all the time he needs in order to heal up and then come back and play. But for Ovi, that's a tough break, and again, all the best to him. And we'll see how the Capitals do in his absence. It really showed last night on the power play without Ovechkin there. That spot, it's just there isn't anybody else that can fill in for him. So they're going to have to. I would think they're going to have to kind of redesign the power play a little bit, which in the long term might help Washington, in that they might be a little bit less predictable when he returns if they keep some of those schemes they come up with in place. And last but not least, this coming out today as well, Sports Illustrated and a lot of legacy media, this happens. This is to maximize profits. They lay off just a swath of employees. Sports Illustrated doing that today. And they will lay off people with a lot of experience. It doesn't matter how good you are at your job. Media in general now it's one of the reasons why when people ask, hey, do you want to get into the media? My answer is always no. Would you want to be hired by Sportsnet? Not really. I mean, if there was a way to work on the West Coast and work with them in some affiliation kind of thing, sure. But actually being employed by and counting on a paycheck from anything legacy media, because of how I see these layoffs, and it's every media conglomeration to do the same thing. We need to increase our profits, and the best way to do that is to lay off staff. And the internet seems to, like, it's funny, I do searches for hockey related things, obviously, for videos like this, and a lot of the time I'm like, oh, okay, so there's some kind of a list here on some greatest player, and it just turns out to be one of those spammy kind of lists where every page has one player, and it might be from like 2012 that somebody actually published the list, and there's ads everywhere, and it's just, that's kind of supplanted media on some level. So it is a shame. There's a lot of good reporters currently that are looking for jobs. There's obviously too, there's a lot of podcasts now. One of the reasons why I haven't really bothered with my podcast as much as I would like to is there's so many podcasts, there's so many things that are going on, and so I keep my focus to the YouTube channel here and in growing my audience here, but I don't really have any desire to work in media. Hey, I'd love to be a radio DJ when we're listening to Sirius XFM, heading off on the road when we were going down to Seattle. I love listening to Sirius XM radio. Anyways, but yeah, and just the DJs and your Rick Springfield, I'm like, oh, Rick Springfield, this is great. I would love to just be able to program music and all that. But again, that in and of itself is also a dying media and has been for a very long time. So I feel very fortunate to be here talking to all you fine people about hockey every day, and to the people who are out of work right now. Hopefully they're not out of work for very long. And it does sometimes feel like you're hired in the media to be fired, kind of the same as with coaches in the National Hockey League. And you just never know. One thing with being a coach, and you might have some idea when it's coming, I don't think these guys had any idea this was coming. So all my thoughts to them as well. And hey, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. And hey, thank you guys so much for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.